You're listening to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in work and in life and simplify them. And today's we're focused on sales, all about sales, and we're going back and just zooming in on your social media marketing efforts out in the world. Now, here's the thing. I know, I have a sneaking suspicion, quite a few of you that are listening are sort of over social media in some ways. Let's be real. The last 18 months of our lives, personally and professionally, has been a lot. And so for some of us, we have had to pull ourselves away from the doom scroll of social media. But my guest today is going to make an argument for why we need to be intentionally coming right back, but doing it in a smart way. There is a way to generate sales from your social media channels, but doing it in a brand new way. So my special guest today is the co-founder and CEO of ManyChat. He believes that there is a revolution underway that's reshaping how businesses around the world interact with their customers. His name is Mike Yan, and he is leading the charge. He's made it his goal to disrupt the $5 billion email marketing industry by bringing the convenience of messenger apps to business-to-customer communication. ManyChat has trusted by over 1 million businesses all around the world to power 1 billion customer conversations. So I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Mike Yan. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mary. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. And boy, howdy, I put you on the spot here because you really do have to make a case for why social media marketing is still a thing. So where should we begin? I wonder, how do you feel social media has changed, especially nowadays? I mean, due to the pandemic or how people are using social media now? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think the first thing we should look at is probably the numbers. And the social media landscape and usage continues to grow in terms of number of users and in terms of time spent. I think the two most prominent newcomers and new players are Clubhouse and TikTok, especially TikTok, which is growing like crazy and has revitalized a landscape, the social media landscape, which was completely dominated by Facebook through Facebook main app and Instagram.
Yeah.
I think there is also a merging that is happening between messaging apps and social media. Messaging apps have become the most important apps on our phones. They're used even more than social media apps. So there's more messaging app users in the world right now than social media app users. And kind of makes sense because if you think about the phone, it was made for one-on-one communication, for calling and texting, and now we were coming back to the roots, and that core use case is really is dominating the usage. But also messaging apps are getting social media type of features. So WhatsApp got the stories, and Telegram is expanding with channels and comments. I don't know how you or the listeners are familiar. Telegram is a messaging app with over 500 million users. It's growing really fast, and it's a really interesting app. But yeah, it's the overall landscape and the overall number of users and the depth of usage is growing. I know that some people think, like, social media, maybe like they're over, for example, Facebook main app. But if you look at the numbers, it's continuing to grow. And Instagram is, I think, one app that is kind of it's like kind of like polarized. Some people know that, and already use it for the business, and they know that how powerful it is for driving sales and inquiries. And others think of it as like this something new, something that is more like less established. But actually, Instagram is already used by 1 billion people, and there is it's actually growing 50% year over year in terms of the ad spend. So it was $20 billion in ad revenue in 2019, and $30 billion in revenue, in ad revenue in 2020. And now it's going to grow to probably around $45 billion in revenue in 2021.
That is insane. And I just think about Instagram and Facebook and those kinds of conglomerates. They're banking big cash right now on us. And so I guess I just think back on day one of starting the Simplifiers way back when in 2003. This is before social media existed. And how do you get clients back in 2003? You knock on doors, you network, you meet with people, you take out magazine ads and things like that. Of course, I don't do that anymore, of course. But, I think about what's at the core of marketing and sales is connection, right?
Exactly.
Making connection with your prospective clients and customers, building a relationship, delivering solutions for their challenges, and, nudging them along to become a paying client, right?
Exactly. And I think that's never going to change.
Yeah.
That was the foundation of every business, is how do you tell people about your services, and once they know about those services, how do you nurture that relationship,
right.
Make them a paying customer, and then make them a repeat customer, and at the end of it, provide such a great product and such a great service so they're actually promoters of your business.
Right.
And I think the thing, like, the channels can change, but the underlying foundation of this process of getting people to be aware of the business, interested in, then taking action, and then becoming repeat clients and promoters, I think that's been as long as business was around.
Right. So social media itself is simply just a channel by which you have such a myriad of options to choose that feel right for you. Like, I can imagine there are some cynics out there that are listening that are going, I'm a wedding planner. What am I doing on TikTok? Like, come on, let's be real.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But I imagine...
can tell you what you're doing on TikTok. I can tell you step-by-step instructions. I would say people, like, every new channel has a specific vibe to it, right? It has a specific format to how you engage with it. So with TikTok, it's short, entertaining, or edutating videos, and that create awareness for your business. So if I was like, let's take the wedding planner example. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to succeed and to grow your customer base and the number of inquiries as a wedding planner, and use TikTok as a platform to get that organic exposure without actually spending money on ads, and putting your creativity into it for creating content that would get spread by the algorithm, then it would be content, like, some of it would be entertaining content. So short 15-second, 30-second skits, comedy kind of like style. And you don't have to be a professional comic to actually do those. As soon as you start using the platform, you see patterns, you see trends, you see music and certain, I would say, certain scripts that are being used that could be reused and adopted for a specific industry. And it's not that hard, and that could get you thousands, 10,000, hundreds of thousands of views. And wedding is has such a big audience. Like, everybody understands the concept of a wedding. Right. So there's a lot that could be said around it, certain situations, how the planning goes, and how there's a lot of situational comedy that could be created around that. And again, it might sound harder than it actually is. Once you start using TikTok, you see, like, it's very short clips. It's like usually one situation. It's actually after you spend several days, you start to get ideas what you could do with it, and the creation process is also not that hard. So basically, you become what you're bringing to the table, and what you're bringing to the social network is your unique perspective and your entertaining content. And what the social network, in this regards TikTok, rewards you with is free attention. Because what TikTok is about, it's about as other social media, but actually it's just doing a really good job at it, is about entertaining you and keeping you in that process of looking at the content, right? And if your content is good, so the cool thing about TikTok is that when you look at the feed, you're not looking at subscriptions, right? You can follow people, but that's not the only thing that you see. And you're seeing a lot of quote unquote viral content. And so if your video as a wedding planner, you can have 0 subscribers, like 0 followers. But if it's a great video, what the algorithm does is that it seeds that video across a number of target audiences and sees which ones, if there is an audience that responds to it, and if there is somebody who really responds to it and like watches it multiple times, saves it or likes it or comments on it or sends it to others, it starts to show that content to other people like that specific segment. But the thing is, the algorithm it's going to push you into that specific audience segment.
Right.
And the cool thing is that you don't have to spend money to, at least right now, you don't have to spend money to acquire that audience. What you have to do is to create entertaining content that's going to be, it shouldn't be entertaining for everybody. It could be entertaining for the wedding planner industry, or I would actually target future husbands and wives who are right now planning and might be looking for a wedding planner. And if you put, like, I would focus on 2 types of content. One of them would be entertainment. So like it would be funny situations during the wedding planning, right? And you can, like, every wedding planner probably knows like all of these situations that are typical, right? And they can plan around those. And I would also think around educational content. So 5 mistakes or 5 tips, or the way you do this or the way you do that. How do you work with the interior, the atmosphere, like the 5 great ideas for what to do during a wedding, right? So, and you put that into that 15-second, 30-second format, and people are going to start saving that, liking that, and you're going to show up more and more in their feeds. And this is going to create that incoming traffic, like inbound conversations. So you're basically putting out great content out there. The algorithm, because it's not based on following is just one parameter, so you could get spread to more than your followers, and you are going to get that exposure. So that's one of the ways to use TikTok as a wedding planner.
Well, and I imagine also if you have younger staff or teammates that are already native to using TikTok personally, they can incorporate the ease of doing that. Telling a 50-year-old wedding planner, okay, hey, you have to sing and dance on TikTok, they're going to be like, I don't know, I'll just stick with a wedding show instead, or otherwise, right? But I mean, I think it's a channel, right? It's a channel to reach new audiences that are sitting on that platform, are engaging content already, positioning yourself in the right place, right?
Exactly. And you would be surprised. TikTok has its aura about TikTok that's only for young people, right? There is people think that it's that, but actually right now, TikTok is the most downloaded app, and it's already the age brackets have already moved. So there is already a lot of people who are not like 14 to 18 using TikTok. It's actually has moved much more into 18 to 35, right? And for a wedding planner, that's actually the target audience in terms of people who are right now getting first-time married or second-time married. And you would also be surprised how many creators are above 45, right? I don't think it's about age. I think it's about kind of like the overall approach. Like, do you still want to learn new things, right? Do you still want to, because there is nothing, like, you don't need to dance to be on TikTok. Like, there's a lot of people who are doing educational content.
Right.
They're not dancing in their videos.
Right.
And I think it's also kind of like there's this aura of like TikTok is like dancing and lip syncing. Sure, there's a lot of that, but it's also there's a lot of other things that are completely like people showing interfaces and how to do things on the mobile app or like on iPhones, or how to shoot better shots, or how to do this. And like it's everything but
Well,
dancing and lip syncing.
and I imagine as you say that, a little light bulb went off in my head. If you can be an innovator on a platform that is lip syncing and dancing, and you're doing something absolutely different, using it in a completely different way, you are going to gain more attention potentially. I think that even for those that are thinking, well, I started my business 15, 20 years ago before social media, you discern where you're going to spend your time, money, and effort on a place where there's going to be the highest return of investment, because it does take time. It takes time to set up automation. It takes time to set up your content creation calendars, and to do that part of marketing. Beyond actually servicing your clients and doing the paid work that's out there. So you have to discern which channel is actually the best for you. And you make a case for Instagram that it's the place right now to focus a lot of time and effort and to really, once again, build. Why is that?
First of all, I 100% agree. Like, you shouldn't be doing this kind of like in a half type of committed way.
Right.
You either have thought through and said, I'm going to use social media as a way to grow my following, as a way to get clients. I'm going to invest into content creation and into learning how this works, etc. Or like maybe it's going to be a futile effort, because if you just like try and do it, there's not to be enough energy and knowledge behind that to actually move the needle. You really need to like as you've said, content creation takes time. Understanding how the platform works, like how these trends work and everything else. It's not rocket science, but it does take time in terms of planning and actually shooting and editing and everything else.
Right.
So I wouldn't do it in a half-hearted type of way. On the other hand, it's definitely a channel that a lot of people are right now underusing. Like there's it's just right now, again, if we're talking about TikTok, like there is just a lot of free attention, like just floating around there. And even something like the quality is gonna go up and the bar is gonna go up, but right now it's not that high. Like if you look at YouTube, for example, it used to be that you could be doing really simple videos, just your webcam, and like you could be getting views and followers and everything else. Look at the quality of videos that people are putting out right now. Like these, like some of the mini documentaries, they could be on Netflix, right? The quality of editing and everything else. So the competition is going to be ramping up, and same thing is going to happen with things like TikTok, right? Like for a few years, it's going to be much easier to get in and to use it, to build an audience and everything else. Like a few years are going to pass, the competition is going to ramp up because everybody's going to understand how lucrative it is to get this free attention. Now, if we talk about Instagram, I do think that it's probably the most important platform because of, like, people know about Facebook. Facebook is kind of like this, the phenomenon of several generations now, and it's books are written about it, films are shot around it, and there is over 2 billion users. Instagram is smaller in terms of number of users, but it's actually going to be bigger in terms of the ad revenue that it generates. So right now, Instagram is about, I've mentioned it's about going to be, this year is going to be around 45 billion. In a few years, Instagram is going to be bigger. By 2023, it's going to be bigger than Facebook's main app. So Facebook is going to be making more money from Instagram than it's making from Facebook itself in terms of ad revenue. It's already happened in the US. So it's not something that could happen. Like those trends have been set in motion in the past 5-10 years. So there's I don't think that there's anything that could be done around them. So Instagram is already bigger than Facebook in terms of ad revenue in the United States, and it's going to be bigger than Facebook in terms of ad revenue worldwide in about 2 years.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think people are moving more towards Instagram and off of Facebook as a whole?
I think it has to do with the quality of content. I think people, when you look at social media, there's a few things. You want to connect with your friends and family, and that has been substituted by messaging apps and group conversations. So I think what I see around the world and with my own family is that we're not following each other on Facebook or social media. We just have a group chat where all the family members are, and we send pictures there and we send comments, and it's a private place only for us. And that's how that gets, like, that's how we share information and videos and photos and news and everything else. So that use case kind of went away, right? And then there is the use case of public communication, right? So when you're not communicating with your friends and family, where you're communicating with your broad following, whatever that means, right? Like your acquaintances, your partners, your people who you've met throughout your life. And Facebook was built for a lot of different types of content, and it just seems a bit harder to consume that content than something like Instagram, right? Instagram is much more visual. It's the emphasis on text is much less, so you get more fun and enjoyment. And if we were talking like in terms of neurobiology, I would say like you're getting more dopamine and serotonin, like for the path to that reward is easier than something that is more text based. Like on Facebook, you can share, like it's more geared towards text updates. Some of those text updates are longer.
Right.
Like you can share articles. There's a lot of different things that are going around, and Instagram simplifies that. And on one hand, it simplifies that. On the other hand, the overall quality of the content is higher, because you probably need. You're not just like, you rarely post just text, right? You need to post a photo with it. And a lot of people, I think that creates a barrier for creation. So there is higher quality content that's being shared that has higher entertainment value for you.
Right.
So you're not getting like a lot of different half updates. You're getting the most important updates from your friends and family, and you're getting quality content from the brands and influencers that you follow.
Yeah, and I think on the consumer side, and I can only speak for myself, I think I also have been discerning on what I choose to look at, how I just want to remove, obviously, I run a company called the Simplifiers. I want to remove the noise. I want to simplify down as much as possible, and that also includes what I'm consuming on social media. And so, yeah, I over the last couple of years have pulled myself back significantly from social media as a consumer, but then also as a marketer. I certainly see the truth in that better quality content is on Instagram versus Facebook. And it takes, you can't just forward a link. You can't just forward an article.
Yeah.
It takes time and effort to create good content over at Instagram. However, I will play devil's advocate with you for a second, and curious what your rebuttal is to this. I also get the sense in the last couple of years of a couple of things. One, this carefully curated 9-box grid of beautiful pictures and filtered photos puts a dystopia of false reality out there that I think a lot of people, I dare say myself, are just sort of like, is it real? Is it true? Do I believe that their home life is as beautiful as it is shown on Instagram all the time? That it just sort of leaves a saccharine taste in my mouth, and it makes me not want to consume it anymore, because it just sort of brings up these feelings of kind of not enoughness. And then equally, as a business, I don't want to perpetuate a dystopia of false reality on my own feed that everything's filtered and beautiful and perfect. And just if you would just buy my product, then you will be as simple as of a life as I have, right? So I feel like there's a social responsibility to not perpetuate false reality.
Yeah, I would say the the phenomenon that you're talking about is definitely real, right? But the question for us as business owners is, are we going to, like, you could say the same thing around probably Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Because still, like, there's different people. Like, I'm sure you have people in your feed who are sharing more authentically, and
Sure.
people who are putting on kind of like this persona and more of a less of an authentic type of experience.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what we're here to like the way I think about channels, and like personally, it's up to everybody's choice, right? To use social media or not use social media. The thing that I can definitely say is that the usage of social media is going up,
Yeah.
right? And there is more Instagram users every year, and the depth of usage with things like, for example, TikTok and Clubhouse in terms of smartphones is also going up. So the question is, if we're talking about the business use cases, do you want to be a part of that conversation? Do you want to be a part of a community of 1 billion people who are using and figuring out for themselves how they want to be using Instagram or TikTok or whatever else they're using, right? And I think there is a bigger conversation where we do want to be connected on one hand, but then there's also kind of this two-edged sword kind of thing, right?
Right.
Where this need to be connected sometimes goes and like creates lack of connection, right? Because you're putting on something that is not realistic. And I think, again, this is a ongoing process for us as social media users to go through and to probably mature and to be more comfortable with, for example, sharing things that are not as polished.
Right.
If we want to do that, right? But coming back to the business argument, I do not think that it would be beneficial for businesses to kind of take an approach where we're not participating in these channels. Of course, like, again, up to every business owner themselves, but if something is working and if you feel like you want to be a part of that conversation, like, all the power to you. If you don't want to be a part of that conversation, also, I think a lot of people can do business just by using referrals and word of mouth.
Right.
And
I can tell
that's good.
you a handful of plumbers in my local area that are nowhere near social media making stupid amounts of money, right?
Yeah.
But I think what I hear in what you said there, I think is very, very true, is as a business owner, as a marketer, as a personal brand, understanding what level of authenticity you are showing out in the world. And I mean, social media aside, 20 years ago, if a restaurant was placing an ad in a magazine, they're not going to put photos of their food in poor lighting. They're going to show their best self out into the world. But again, I think that there are people are starting to waken up and, as you say, mature to the idea of social responsibility, making sure that what I am reflecting is a true and honest and authentic version of my company and myself and my products and services, to not inflate or leave that kind of sickly feeling afterwards, doing exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
So going back to what we talked about at the beginning, I mean,
And
obviously,
it takes kind of like time to really understand what's the core of the
right.
brand and of what you're trying to say, right? Social media is not good or bad inherently
Right.
in itself. It's the way we use it. It's the technology. And the question is, are we mature enough to use it in a way that creates more happy customers, where we talk about the business and do not overpromise or overshare, but talk about the business in a way that's compelling. And once the people decide to take and to work with us, they have a great experience because what they saw on these platforms matches their experience with the business.
Regardless of if you are a restaurant, a hair salon, a wedding planner, or whatever, I imagine that you have to think about that customer buying journey, from the very first point of contact they have with you or your brand, to inquiry, to quote, to paying customer, to raving fan and repeat customer. I think when we keep the customer buying journey in mind and say, okay, how do we use this channel to help deepen that connection and deepen that relationship? That's what we talked about right at the beginning. It's like all about connection. So you have a company called ManyChat that's all about DM, direct messaging, automation, utilizing those kinds of bots and software scripts inside social media like Instagram. So talk to us about that. How has that come about as a business, and how are people delivering results?
Sure. ManyChat was started back in 2015, and what we do is called chat marketing. So we help businesses automate conversations on messaging platforms like Facebook Messenger and now Instagram. The typical use cases for this would be all around marketing, sales, and service. So you could imagine somebody reaching out and asking, what are the working hours of a restaurant? And instead of having somebody reply in a few hours, once the manager or the owner gets the time to open Instagram and reply to that message, we could automate that and we could provide a better experience for the end user and save time and money for the business owner. And that's the use case more in the type of service type of quality, but also marketing is one of the big things that we do. So you can imagine, for example, an influencer who has a lot of followers and who, let's say, puts out an educational course around their area of expertise. And they can actually, for example, in their stories say something like, hey, write me this keyword, let's say course, and automatically send the link to that course inside the DMs. That would be one way to do that. But if we take that a bit further, they could say something like, hey, I have a 10% discount for my Instagram followers. Write me the word coupon to get the discount coupon, right? People who write coupon, you can ask them for their email right inside the Instagram DMs.
Yeah.
And they can say something like, hey, before I give you the coupon, I need your contact information, where to send it. What's your email, right?
Yep.
So the conversion rate on asking the person their email inside Instagram DMs is going to be anywhere between 70 to 90%. It's going to be insane, right? It's going to be really, really high because people have started the conversation and it feels very natural to continue that conversation. And it's a native channel. It doesn't take any time loading. It's very, very familiar to you, and it's private, right? It's one-on-one. So once you get the email, you can put that into your email platform, or you can put it into your CRM. You can deliver the coupon right over Instagram, or you can deliver it over email. But the really cool thing is that you get 24 hours of continuing the conversation with your customer, so you can ask about them. What are they looking for? What outcomes are they looking for? What is their current stage, right? If you're a marketing agency, you could ask about their marketing budget, their industry, and what goals they are struggling with right now. So qualifying, nurturing people over chat automation is also a really big thing that ManyChat helps businesses with. So there's a lot of things that you could do, because chat, think about how you use chat, right? You could use it for personal, you could use it for work, you could use it for group conversations, for fun. There's lots of really different use cases. And same thing with chat automation, where it could be anywhere between marketing, sales, and service. And every business industry that we see, for example, restaurants, a lot of them use ManyChat for creating loyalty programs. So, and the way that it starts, it usually is something that's you want to create an offer for people to start the conversation, something of value. So, for example, in restaurants, it could be the Wi-Fi password. So instead of just writing the Wi-Fi password on a table tent, you could say, hey, message us on Instagram, Wi-Fi, and we'll give you the password. So now they've messaged you on Instagram. Now you know their name and their details, right? You can say, hey, here's your Wi-Fi password. Now you could have an automation that's set to send a message in 2 hours saying, hey, how was your visit? Right? Rate us from 1 to 5 on Instagram. And there you're going to get a really high response rate to that, because there is nobody's doing Instagram DM automation these days. It's a really new technology. So the open rates and the click-through rates are really, really high. So engagement rates are really, really high. So a person can say hey, I really liked it, 5 stars. And the next thing you say is that, oh, we're really glad that you liked it. We're a small restaurant, and we live and die by our reputation. If you could take 20 seconds to rate us on Google reviews, it would mean the world to us.
Yeah.
And you can send them the link to the Google reviews. So getting each of those Google reviews that are authentic and coming from your actual customers is of really, really high value to the business owners. And it's a really easy campaign. Wi-Fi password, wait 2 hours, ask for the rating. If it's 5 stars or 4 stars, send them to the Google review site. And if it's 1 to 3 stars, ask them what went wrong and try and basically you can say if they rate you 1 to 3 stars, you can have a notification go out to your phone as a business owner or manager and try and resolve whatever bad experience that they've had. So that's a local business type of, and we have literally hundreds of different verticals using us across local businesses, professional services, e-commerce, influencers, and every one of them,
that's so interesting, because I've never really thought about DM automation during the sale process. So they're already at the restaurant. They're already paying customer. They're more than likely they're not going to walk away, right? So it's interesting to use the tool in that stage of the customer buying experience after they've said, yes, I'm eating here. And this is, kind of tearing it on through to get the rating and review. That's very, very smart. I've never thought of that way. But I also imagine going back to that wedding planner as a case study, utilizing DM messaging, they could, put and make sure I heard this correctly and correct me if I'm wrong. But if they put a post on their feed or put something on their Instagram stories or something in the reels, the video, they could make mention of, hey, we've got this checklist for, 10 tips on saving $10,000 on your wedding. Just send me a DM that says checklist, right?
Exactly.
And then they, that keyword goes into the DM, right? And then the bot begins. It goes, okay, great. Here, can I get your email and I'll send it directly to you there? Then they say, yes, here's my email. And then the automation, I'm assuming, plugs straight into whatever your email marketing tool is, like MailChimp or ConvertKit or whatever, right? So then even that step is automated too, right?
Exactly. Yes.
That's so amazing.
So you're talking about what's called a keyword automation, and basically you talk about the keyword in any way, format, a feed post, a story, a reel, whatever. You can just share it and say whatever way possible. You can say, hey, send me checklist to get the 10 tips to save $10,000 on your wedding. Right. People send you that. You should ask for their email. Right. You should send them the checklist. That's already somebody who's looking for 10 tips to save $10,000 on a wedding is probably your target audience if you're a wedding planner.
Sure.
So now you got a lead, right? So you can ask them automatically, hey, are you planning a wedding? Yes or no? Easy question. When is your wedding happening? Right? It's this month, in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, and you can have buttons so they don't even have to write it out. They can just tap it's in 6 months. It's just going to be a button. So it's really easy.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a poll. It's really easy for them to press it. Now you're basically qualifying them, right? So you can actually now know that somebody is planning a wedding. It's really soon. And you can ask them, do you already have a wedding planner?
Yes or no.
Right?
Right.
Yes or no.
Yeah.
Right. And if they say yes, you can say are you happy with them?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe are you like how happy are you with them? And like if it's something like 3 out of 5, right? You can say like, hey, I can make your day. I can make you 5 out of 5, right? And this is why. And you can get on a call with them. You can ask for their phone number. And again, this is the power of this is that this is working while you sleep, right? You post this content, you create this automation, and then whenever somebody starts to tries to message you about this checklist, which is again the offer, right? There has to be something of value that they started a conversation with,
Right.
but then you deliver that and you start asking questions to learn more about them, and this is going to create that inbound funnel of qualified leads.
And that's brilliant because it's exactly the magic of automation is being able to do and deliver in a very quick, speedy way for the prospective client, because they don't want to have to wait hours and hours and hours for you to answer an email or reply back with a really long message. It's like, boom, here's the link to book a discovery call. Here is the email automatically sent that has the checklist. You know, I'm not waiting. I'm getting that instant gratification as a customer. And, you know, that's what happens a lot of times, I think, with small business owners is that we have good intentions. We want to do these things in a speedy way. But if it's a handful of 5 or 10 people, it's really hard to deliver quickly. That's where utilizing software and innovation makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Talk to me about tracking the metrics of things. Like, what are we tracking in order to ensure our efforts are actually converting fans into paying clients?
Yeah. So we can track everything, every message around this funnel. So the beauty of this is that it's not some visitor on some web page and you don't really know what's happening and who is it, etc. You know exactly who's messaging you. Like there's a profile picture and their name, right? And they're answering specific questions. And if you're for example asking a question that is, for example, worded in a obscure way and people don't understand it, you're going to see this on metrics because you're going to see that people do not like the click-through rate of that specific message is going to be really, really low. So that tells you maybe you should change this question, drop it or reword it. So for example, I was getting lower. One of the things that I did on my Instagram account is I'm giving away 1 month of ManyChat Pro for free. So by the way, shameless plug. If you message me on Instagram,
Yes.
the Mike Yan, you can actually literally everybody's going to get 1 month of coupon of Instagram DM automation for free, and you can see like how DM automation works. Like I don't have to go out and check it. People just can go in, press a button, get the free coupon, and I'm going to ask them questions, and they're going to get the thing.
So what do they have to put in their message to you?
It's gonna once they go to Instagram and search for the Mike Yan, TheMikeYan,
Yep.
the Mike Yan. Then if they press message, there's gonna be just a button. I want 1 month of ManyChat
already
Pro for
in
free.
your messenger.
So, they would. It's called conversation starters, so they don't even have to type anything in. They can just press the button. But if somebody already started conversation with me, the keyword is free trial. So if you just send to me the keyword free trial, you're going to be able to enter that flow and get that 1 month of Pro for free. But the reason I was mentioning this is that I was getting lower conversion rates on the first question of asking about the email, right? And I saw that it was somewhere lower than 90%. And I'm like, I should be like, this is a good offer. Like why people are not leaving their email. And the way I was asking for email was really like not talking about the value. It was like just like what's your email, right? So I reworded it like, hey, first we need the contact information to give you the coupon. What's your email? And then if they don't reply to that, like basically in 2 minutes, I send another message. We call this a mini follow-up. So basically 2 minutes is more than enough to type in your email, right? If you're not typing it in, maybe you have some concerns.
Right.
So what I send is like just a really short message saying, hey, no spam. I promise it's just like for the contact information. So, and that basically like the first thing already converts at about like 85%.
Yeah.
And the next message gives you another like 5-10% increase in terms of conversion rates. So actually a lot of people who've gotten the second message have converted and left their email once they saw the reassuring message.
So how do you overcome GDPR? I mean, because there's so many new email regulations now that people have to opt
But people are
in.
giving, like, GDPR works in a way where you got to get the person's opt-in, right?
Right.
And you got to get them from themselves, not like buy it from third party or something. And the
Right.
beauty of the DM automation is that you're getting the email from the first hand from the customer. You're not getting it from a certain platform or something. People are literally typing in their own email and giving it to you. There is like nothing that is more kind of like more direct than like people giving out you that thing. If you're talking about like getting consent for sending them emails and etc., you should also type that in. So like for now, I'm not actually using. I'm literally using this to match people, like, and to have their contact information on file. I'm not using it to send email communication. If I was, I would actually ask people to opt in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like, hey. I might send you an occasional email, but like not like I would literally type that out in the message, and that's perfectly acceptable because the whole spirit of GDPR is for people to understand like what's going on, like
Right.
for people to understand what are they signing up for, how their data is going to be used, etc. So if you're capturing emails to send, let's say, occasional emails, you should just say that, hey, what's your email? By like. You can put that in brackets by leaving your email. We might send you occasional messages, etc., and that's enough.
Yeah. Are you fine with that? Yes. No.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's all so fascinating to me, and I think what I heard you say is, when you've set up the funnel, the strategy itself inside ManyChat, then you've created the automation, and then it continues to run as is. There's no continual building of brand new funnels if you don't want to, right? But there is that tweaking, the refining of this question or that question, just to increase the conversion rate on those things. So I guess my last question on this in particular is, how do we overcome any resistance that might be there to learning new technologies? People going, oh, another thing I have to figure out, and I have to tweak, and I have to have a software engineer background, and I just don't even know. Like, what would you say to those people?
I would say it's actually super simple once you understand how it works. It's very visual. You don't need any technical background to use this. Like literally, if you can post on Instagram, you'll be able to use the software. It's like it would be easier to show the interface, but if I had to describe it, like imagine a flow chart where like when people send you this keyword,
yes,
like there's an arrow that points like send this message.
Yeah.
Right. And when they press this button, send this message. It's super visual. It's if you can read a flow chart, then like it's like there's zero coding. There is no like programming or anything. It's just a pathway. Choose your own adventure type of flow chart.
Well, and I know from personal experience, doing it the old-fashioned manual way of focusing on marketing, chat marketing, it works. I have more deeper relationships with my clients and customers in my DMs in Instagram than I ever have had in my feed or otherwise. So the idea of converting that now to automation, still coming in every now and again and putting a real-time flair to it. Not everything is written by bots, right?
Yeah.
But just simplifying that part is very intriguing. You might be getting a DM from me soon to get that free 1 month trial, because I think it's worth experimenting. It's worth testing and seeing if it does convert and increase sales, or at least increase discovery calls. Because for me, I'm done with chasing followers or feeling like a business is legitimate if it has 10,000, 100,000, a million followers on any sort of feed. I think at the end of the day is paying clients who are happy, who are receiving a high quality product or service. That's what businesses really need to focus on the most, right?
Exactly.
So if you're curious about this, of course, all the links and resources that we talked about in this episode are found in our show notes over at thesimplifierspodcast.com, or you can find ManyChat at their website, manychat.com. I'll also have the links for Mike's social media channels and all things so you can connect with him or his team directly there. And just, again, see the automation, see the tool in play, see how it actually interacts with people as a case study for yourself. And so, Mike, as we wrap up, a few questions I like to ask everybody that comes onto the podcast. And again, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom. So tell us, what's one book or blog that you're reading these days that's either inspiring you or poking holes and challenging your belief system?
Right now, I'm reading The 100 Tales of Wisdom by Idris Shah. It's an author. It's a book about Rumi and certain situations that he was in during his lifetime. I'm really fascinated by Eastern thinkers. So that's something that's kind of completely different approach to certain questions in life than, let's say, that's coming from Europe or the Western type of thinking. So I try to mix both.
Yeah, love it. Well, we will link that up in the show notes if you guys are curious about that book as well. So tell us, who's one person in your network, somebody that you know personally, you just feel is up to brilliant things? We could shine a spotlight on them, and who knows, maybe one day we'll have them on the podcast.
One of those people is my close friend. His name is it's an Armenian name. So his name is Hrachik. So it's HRACHIK.
Okay.
And he's working on an app called Wakey, WAKIE. And what they're doing is they're connecting people into one-on-one or group calls to meet and to basically have a conversation with a stranger, but that is safe. And that is kind of like people could post like, I need emotional support. Can somebody talk to me, right? And somebody can have a call and they could have a conversation. And they've built an amazing community of people. And already hundreds of thousands of people around the world are using this. But I still think that they're not getting the attention that they deserve, because there's lots of like people would be creating calls and singing music or telling jokes to each other, or learning English with a native speaker, or there's all of these like use cases where they're connecting. On one hand, they're connecting people who've never talked to each other, right? But on the other hand, they're basically created this community where it's safe to do so, which is, I think, really hard to do.
Wow.
So yeah, they're up to some great stuff.
I love it. We will link him up in the show notes for people if you guys want to check out that app. I love that idea, especially in this day and age of social isolation and loneliness as a result from the pandemic. It is a major, major crisis in the UK when I was living overseas. Something like this is incredibly important, incredibly vital for people's mental health and wellness. I love it. It's great. So, Mike, I believe gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, what are you grateful for today?
For all of the little things and all of the big things in my life. So, I'm gonna probably be eating a dinner soon. So I will be grateful for having that.
Fantastic. Well, again,
for
the
my
website,
family, for everything. Like there's literally everything is a gift. So it's hard to point to one thing.
Yeah. So again, the website is ManyChat.com. And Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time today and explaining it to us and simplifying it down. Someone somewhere is listening to us right now and they're contemplating like going back to social media marketing, going back into the whole thing and going, okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. If the core premise is about connection, deepening relationships with my prospects and customers, it just sounds really big and scary. What's one thing that you could whisper into their ear right now just to encourage them in this moment?
I would say focus on one social media, and I would suggest doing Instagram because there is less effort involved in creating than, for example, something like TikTok. And do not sweat it. Like, focus on the simple things. So, for example, stories do not require a lot of effort to be posted, right? And find your raving fans, find people who do want to follow you. Do not stress like getting 100,000 followers or anything like that, right? It's much more important to have a small base of people who really love what you do and to have that connection with them and to serve them in that way and to continue that connection and relationship and to deepen it. So, yeah, if that would be my suggestion. If you're more open to experimentation, want to put in more time and get more results, then I would suggest TikTok and really studying the platform. Like, just install it, spend a few weeks, just like you're going to get into the whole rabbit hole of like spending an hour just watching it one after the other. It's a really great entertainment platform, and it will start giving you ideas. I would subscribe and follow certain business accounts, the ones that you like. If you find some, you can just follow them and like look at more content there. And this might give you inspiration. And again, it's not for everybody, but some people where there is a match, where there is a resonance between the thing that they're seeing and what they can produce. For them, it's going to work, right?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't resonate, like, do not sweat it. Like, everybody has their own path, and like, it's no big deal. Do what brings you joy. So,
Mike, thank you so much for your time today.
thank you.